Okay, so here we are again because Rosalind keeps pushing the wrong button and ending the video.
Let me move the cursor. Hold on.
Don't hit anything.
I'm not. Okay.
Okay, so instead of redoing that whole video again, we're just going to have the short version of the three-way phone call and carry on in this video. Okay, see, anybody can do it, have a care. I mean, come on.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, so to set the appointment, here is the big thing. Getting them to the call may seem hard, but setting the appointment is super important. Because they may not think of this as like business call, but you and I know it's a business call. Whether it's a product business or a business, it's a professional business call. So it's really important for a couple of reasons to say to them, first, you're going to follow with your friend Roz. You're going to say, I'm going to call Anna and say, hey, I'm going to follow with Roz in a few minutes, but I need to know what your available times are for a three-way phone call should they be available and interested in doing one. She says, okay, I have tonight at 8 o'clock free or today at 4 o'clock free. Okay, great. Then you go to your friend and do the check-in and the follow-up and say, hey, Roz, how's it going? Wanted to check and see how your product use was going, blah, 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 blah. You get all the information and say, well, listen, I really want to talk about going forward, or if it's depending on what the situation is, you say, do you have 15 minutes to talk with myself and my friend Anna to make a plan for you tomorrow at 4 o'clock or at 8 o'clock, which would be best? You have a time set because you know your upline's free, and you're able to give specific times to them, because if you just kind of say, when are you free, you, one, may not get an answer back, or two, they may say, oh, I don't know, 5 o'clock. But here's the thing. You kind of want to know what's going on with them. If they get off at 5 o'clock, don't schedule the call for 5 o'clock. Don't do that. Don't do that. Say, okay, you get off at 5, what does 7 o'clock look like? Are you home? Are you, because you want them in the right frame of mind. You don't want them rushed. If it's 5 o'clock and they're just getting out of work and it's late and the call is supposed to be at 5 and they're not into the car till 5:15, that is just, it's too much for everybody, actually, because, they're rushed, and then your upline, they have a family, they have, other teammates they're trying to do calls for. They have things going on. So we're super happy to do them, but you just, you need to keep all that in mind. So wait till they have a really good time to do it, not directly after they get off work, and don't force the call. If they're not free, they're not free. Just say, well, you know what, I'll check back with you. Don't force it to happen, because it's not life or death if it doesn't happen. You definitely want to move into that call, but just make sure that it's about them and the time they can do it, because you want them to hear what's being said. You really can't have a good discussion on anything if they're not, if they're rushed, if we get to the car, so you get the drift. Set the appointment. It's really important to say, okay, great, 8 o'clock works for you. Roz and I will call you at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. If you're setting this the day before, text them or call them the next day. Probably you could shoot them a text at about noon and say, hey, listen, just wanted to check in, call on tonight at 8, still good? Yes, great. Okay, no need to ask anymore. At 8 o'clock, you are calling them. Not waiting on them to say, you're not texting them 2 minutes before, hey, you still good? No. Call them right at 8 o'clock with the person on the phone, because the best thing we can do is be on time, be respectful of their time, be respectful of your upline's time, and your time. It's taking time out of your night. So set the appointment. It's not kind of like, yeah, we'll check in and see if they're good at 8. We don't want to do that, because we don't want to catch them off guard. We don't make them feel uncomfortable. We don't want them not to answer, and then your upline's on the phone when they had another call, all that stuff. So just set the call, make a great time, check with your upline first, and that works really great. So you can check with your upline first, so you know specifically what times are open, so you can take that to them instead of kind of working in reverse. So that's it. That should make it easy for everybody.
Yay! Okay. Now I have a message I want to share that's useful, hopefully, to everybody, which is my three-way phone calls were getting way too long because of me. So, and I'm not new to this, but so I wanted to give you guys some tips. I realized if I'm doing this way, then I'm duplicating that, and I don't want to do that. So I was like, okay, Roz, how do you do yours? Yours go really, really well. So we talked about some tips for success. And so here's some things we want to do and that we want to share with you so you can duplicate it going forward. Number one, think about the three-way phone call. Think about that you're forming people. You're talking to the new prospect, you're asking about family and their occupation and stuff, but I personally am a little too rigid with that, and Roz says that she's a little more conversational. She's like, so tell me how you know so-and-so, and kind of lets that go, and in her mind she might be thinking ORM, but she doesn't say, so tell me what you do at work. So tell me what you do for fun, which I have done in the past, but I think it works much better if you just start a conversation and go down a path with them until you find a connection.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime you can say, oh, I've got a, like if they were to say, I'm trying to think, like for me, if they say, oh, I have a 9-year-old, oh, I've got a 9-year-old, how awesome. Or they were a teacher, she'll say, oh, I was a teacher. Anytime you can, so common ground, and then you go right to, so tell me about AdvoCare. What draws you to AdvoCare? What are you interested in? Then, you're keeping it to 15 minutes. So the majority of the call is that letting them talk and that connect. Then you're saying, okay, what do you want to do? And then the goal is you meet them where they're at, help them. We want everybody to start on products. So products, if they're a business, it's like, look, we got to start you on products, build a story, want to get you to an advisor. And if you want, I think there's a great event for you. Those are kind of the 3 points we talked about. Products, it's like, oh, well, here, I think you should start on products, and you can be a retail customer or a distributor. So really what we're doing is we're validating, like she said. We're also leading them, and we talk about breadcrumbs. Dawn Funk says dripping AdvoCare. I like to think of where's my tracker? You're starting them on products, and then through their life with AdvoCare, you're dripping them across here and across here. This second part's where you go, they're a distributor, then they're 40%. So what I was making the mistake of doing when I don't want to cause you guys to duplicate is I was really giving them as much of this as I possibly could in one call. And when we talked, in order to keep it 15 minutes and fun and upbeat and totally swallowable, just think where they are on this tracker and just think, okay, what would the next little step be? And where they are on this side and what would the next little step be? Is that accurate?
That's totally what I do. Because
okay.
Most of the time, the person that's coming to the 3-way phone call, most of the time, they're either not started at all or they've started a little bit of product. So let's say it's somebody that hasn't started at all, and I just say, thanks for taking a few minutes to chat tonight. How do you and so-and-so know each other? Even though I already know, but it's to get them talking. And say, oh my gosh, you're kidding, you work at so-and-so? Oh, I know, you try to make a connection. If there's no connection there, you say, oh my God, that is so interesting. Wow, that sounds stressful. You must, work a lot of hours, or some connection there. And then you can say, well, do you have kids? If there's not a connection there, say, well, do you have kids? What do you, are you local? That's what I say. If I don't have a connection with the, how they know each other, I'll say, well, are you local in the area? And they'll say, oh, well, yeah, I live in Lawrenceville. I'm like, oh my God, I live in Lawrenceville. Or if they're out of state, I'll say, oh, great. That's so great that we can talk and we're out of state. Something like that. And if there's still no connection, I'll say, well, I know so-and-so gave you a spark, and I'm assuming you loved it because we're talking right now. And they're like, oh, yeah, I loved it. And then I'll say, what brings you to AdvoCare? What attracts you? Are you looking for energy or weight loss? Or, kind of tell me what you're looking to do. And that kind of gets them talking about, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to tell them the 24-day challenge is the best place to start, because I think it is. But if they don't want to start there, I have somewhere to go down to. If I start with, oh, you should use Spark, it's hard to work up to the challenge. So I start at the challenge and kind of work backwards. If they say, well, I saw the 24-day challenge video, I don't know if that's really where I want to start yet, I can say, okay, great, that's something to keep in mind. Here's what we can do after I find out what they're there for. And then I just say, you know what, there's a couple of ways that you can order those products to get started. You can, be retail from so-and-so's site, or you can be a distributor, and don't let the word distributor scare you, because this is how it works. And I drop that in there, and I say, I went distributor because I wanted products at a discount, and it led to a really great business because I shared with so many friends. I said, and that's always an option for you, and if that's something you want to hear more about later, I would be, more than happy to tell you more about it, because we can get you to a higher discount. You can share with friends, get your products paid for. And 9 times out of 10 right there, sometimes they'll say, yeah, well, I'm really busy, I don't know about that. And that's okay. I'll just say, well, you know what, that's okay. It's an option for you, because I know they're not going to see that until they get all the products in their body and they start feeling awesome. So that's okay. We plant that seed there, and we'll drip that later. We'll check in with them during their challenge, and maybe we'll revisit that again. And that's what your upline can do. So it kind of takes the pressure off of you for bringing it up. You can just make the appointment and get them on the call again. Now, if somebody calls me and say they haven't signed up yet, they're ready to go, they want to do business too, then that call's a little different. I can talk a little bit more about business, but I really don't go into like the details of advisor. I will lay that out there. Hey, we need to get you to advisor. If so-and-so hasn't talked to you about that, y'all two are going to get together and talk about it. And then next week, if you want to meet, let's meet and talk in detail about what we want to do. Or I'll say, hey, there's an event Thursday. You really need to come to that. That will really show you a lot about AdvoCare, and we can chat afterwards. So there's kind of a couple of different routes depending on what's going on for the week. And, depending on what I found out beforehand, a lot of people don't want to know anything beforehand before the call, but I like to have a little heads up so I can kind of gear the call that way. And you'll kind of learn from listening to the call. Like, you don't have to be so worried about, form. It's a great thing to have in front of you, but have it in front of you while you're taking notes and you're listening to your upline do the call, and you can see kind of how they flow that into the conversation, so you don't feel so, and then you just kind of, and sometimes the call will go longer than 15 minutes because they have a lot of questions, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
If not, then you just, end the call with how to order and say, I'm going to put you back with, Anna, and let you guys chat. And if you need me for anything else, feel free to hook back up again with a three-way call. I'm happy to help. Okay, great. Thanks for your time. Great. Bye, guys. And I hang up, and then they chat.
Yeah. Is that all we got?
Pretty much that's it. So hope that helps. Comments, questions, text us if something's not clear or you need more.